So a lot of you have been wondering what is the difference between Archidekt and Moxfield and why someone would choose to use Archidekt over Moxfield. It's very apparent Moxfield has a very nice layout. It's attractive and it's simplified. And it does come with your basic stats. You take a look at the different views. We've got the visual spoiler, which a lot of people are used to. You've got your simple grid, which I think changes on the fly here. Simple grid with stacked images, which makes it a little easier to see things. You've got condensed text, which is essentially, I think, like a table in a way, and then you can just see at a glance, you know, the categories that come with that. You can see your visual stacks. What do we have here? Visual stacks, which is another, you know, a lot of other people, including myself, like to see it this way so we can still see the cards and, you know, click what we want to see over the others. You can also group it by type, subtype, type, and tags, mana value, rarity, which is great. However, when you go to type and tags, we get, you know, lands, sideboard. Moxfield wants you to create your own tags. And I don't know about you, I've had so much freaking trouble creating tags on Moxfield that it made me not want to use Moxfield anymore. And not just that, the fact that I have to come up with the tags and it just doesn't sort things for me automatically into what kinds of cards these are makes it very unattractive and very useless, in my opinion. We go to subtype, you know, they got dragon, bird, god, monk, golem. Like, I don't care. I don't care. Is it a wizard? Okay, maybe that helps in a lot of other games. That's really not the point of most games, is to know whether you have one dragon versus others. I should be able to make those, right? Even though I wish they'd make it on the fly. Let's take a look at what Archidekt does, okay? What Archidekt has that Moxfield does not have, and why I had to switch to Archidekt versus using Moxfield. If you scroll down here, now Moxfield does have some really cool things here. I find it a little difficult sometimes to really understand some of the things here, but if you take a look here, you have to hover, but you have 8 permanents with a mana value of 0. Okay, sure, here are the 8 permanents, right? Then we have 12 permanents with a mana value of 1. This is nice layout. And we've got this table here, right? I can't really see much beyond this. I mean, thank you for the information, but what am I going to do with this information? You know, I have to calculate things in my head. No thanks. Scroll on down. We can see the percentage of white versus the percentage of colorless. And then we can play, you know, play our hand. This is not useful to me. Maybe it's useful to a lot of people. I'm sure it is, because it was useful to me in some regard when I didn't know Archidekt existed. So let's go to Archidekt. Let's see what is so different here that we're not getting in Moxfield and why I prefer it. First, at a glance, here's the same deck. Actually, I don't know if I updated Moxfield with this. I really don't care because I'm using this now. First things first, stats. Biggest reason I use Archidekt. Click on this. We can take a look right away. My mana curve is 2.97. I can hover over each of these and see exactly where that percentage lies. I've got 6 colorless, 10 colorless, 6 whites, all within a mana of 2. See that? I can see which ones are creating which is a little similar to the other one, but here's where it gets a lot better. We got our percentage by card type, subtypes, crit categories. Okay, not just that. Watch this, probability. I've got probability by card. So if you happen to have other decks where you have multiple cards, this becomes useful. Within Commander, it's generally the same, 7% per card, unless it's lands or something, right? We go to card types. I can see, oh, I got 94% artifacts. My chance of getting an artifact card, 94%. 94% for lands. Creatures, 83%. Here's where it gets better. By turn. By turn 1, 96% chance I will have an artifact and a land and a creature in my hand. Turn 2, odds change. Turn 3, odds change. Turn 4, I could see every turn and calculate my turns based off of how I'm building my deck. You don't get that at Moxfield. Nope. Let's take a look at our CMC. Here's our cost per average per hand and turn, right? Turn 1, I guess turn 0. Turn 1, 98% chance of getting a card. That's a cost of 0. That's 38 cards in there, right? We go to categories now. One of my favorites. Now, something you don't know about Archidekt is that they will include the tags they should that I wanted to do with Moxfield that I found it extremely difficult to do. They tell me what kind of cards I have, and I can organize those myself as well. Draw, ramp, land, bounce, protection, anthem, removal, recursion. So if I'm building a deck highly around artifacts, let's say, or highly around just life gain, or highly around token generating, I had to make this category. It wasn't included, but I made it, right? If there's something specific I'm going for, and let's say it's token generating, do I really think that 29% of the time or 29% of my cards should be token generators when I'm looking to make a deck that has a high amount of token generators? No. So I'm going to obviously have to fix this and, fudge around other cards in order to make room for more of these, right? Right there, someone like me who just can't see this in their head, they have to see the odds, percentages, etc., whatever. Call me stupid, right? I need to see it. I can't do it in my head. There's a lot of people, they build decks awesome in their head. I haven't played long enough to be able to do something like that. So something like this really helps me understand the structure of building a deck, okay? And essentially that's it. That's the biggest thing that's different from Moxfield is we have an intense amount of data that Moxfield doesn't give you. Moxfield simplifies everything. Moxfield is awesome in a lot of ways when you want to just quickly look at your mana value per, subtype, category, whatnot, to sit there and do that. But if you really want to get technical, everything Moxfield offers is an Archidekt plus more. So let's have a look at this one. This is my favorite layout, okay? Commander, okay. Anthem. Now, a lot of you have been saying, oh, well, the layout's not the same as freaking Moxfield. Well, guess what? They have the same freaking views. Not just the same, but I believe Archidekt actually has more. Take a look at this. View as, stacks, text, brewer, grid, scroll, table. Same things. Then you can group by it by the freaking categories here. You can group it by artist name, toughness. You can group it by price, which is one of my favorite things if you want to just buy the cards that are affordable to you. Right now we are in the categories multiple. This shows us the categories of what these cards do, right? Anthem cards. Anthem cards are any card that affect all of your cards. One of my favorite cards. I had to add the category Anthem to some of these because they don't all come with exactly what it is you want. When it comes to categories like creature, you probably don't have to pay attention to those. Sometimes they add that. We don't care about how many creatures we have, or maybe you do, when I'm looking at this, because I can see creatures in just the normal types category, right? I care more that it's giving me protection, other artifacts I control have ward too, and that I have Anthem with this card. That's what's important to me. Down here, artifacts, same thing, creatures. Sometimes when the system doesn't know how to categorize something, we have to go ahead and categorize these ourselves. If we take a look at this, I had to go ahead and add land to this, and that's because the other side of this card is a land. It's also an artifact, and it's also a token generator, which is a category I added. If we keep going, we've got blink cards, bounce, and if you like to simplify things, you can create your own categories. Let's say any card that lets me blink, bounce, blah, 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 recursion, which is somewhat similar, not in all ways, but you could just make a category that fits all of those together so that you know how many you have and what they do and for what cards. You can also create a category, like I create a category for combos. If it's a combo card, I want a category so I can see all the cards that are required to make a combo in my deck. Copy cards. I probably have more than one of these. It's probably not categorized. Creatures. Weren't we just here? Probably. Here's our damage cards. Now these are cards that deal damage. This actually came with it. Damage beyond attack damage. Let's see here. So let's go ahead and kind of categorize these on the fly, right? You may have Sculpting Seer onto the battlefield as a copy. All right, we know that. That's a draw card. This has a draw thing. I've done these already. Token generator. Damage, I've added these. So anything else with damage I'm going to put here. So let's take a look at AO the Dawn Sky, right? He's under draw, he, she. When you choose one, look at the top 7 cards of your library. Put any number of non-land permanent cards with a total mana of 4 or less from among them on the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom. I like to call this, and that's a good one, right? I don't know what they actually call it. What would you call it? Putting stuff out on the board for free. Protection, pump? Maybe it's pump. I don't know all these words. Oh, pump is probably actually like similar to just pumping up a card, I guess, huh? Well, let's take a look. Side, sax, token, tutor, untap. Okay, I'm going to have to make my own. So I would call this, I'm going to call it free creatures. Free battlefield. Free battlefield. Misspelled. Okay, I'm going to create a new category. I'm also going to create that as a template. Creating it as a template gives me a template that I can use in other decks. If I don't create it as a template, it's because I'm using this category strictly for this deck. That is a term that I can use in any deck. I'm going to click create, and from now on, I can actually apply that category to any of the other cards I want to categorize it as. Take a look at this boring card. I don't know if I'll do that. This is card draw. Actually, these are all under card draw. This one is card draw. Now, one thing with this deck that I'll have to add if I didn't already had it is how many ETBs and LTBs I have, which is not a category that strictly comes off of the ones that you look at. And I probably have it in here. I just haven't got to it yet. But that's important with this particular deck that I might not always care about in another deck, right? But with this deck, it's important because that's what the commander does. You know, it helps with ETBs and LTBs and doubling them. A lot of these cards have the ETB or LTB effect, but what I noticed when I was organizing the cards by hand, I had to do it by hand first because sometimes visually seeing it is a little easier, but putting it in here helps me with the stats. But I only had like a few LTBs, not a whole lot, so I had to modify things to put in a few LTBs, and I need more because I do have recursion cards in here, and I have a lot more than what you see. Or maybe we haven't got to recursion yet, but yeah, basically. So this one's a sacrifice. I also need to know what sacrifices I have, what sack outlets I have, 2 sacrifice cards, so I can bring them back. But I hope that kind of explains it simply to you guys, how I use Archidekt versus why I don't use Moxfield. This is awesome on the phone. Archidekt's okay on the phone when you're like having an emergency situation, I guess. There are ads. You can add ad blockers to, you know, have it not in your way. But yeah, or just pay. You know, you could pay for it to get the ads off. But essentially, that's it, you know. I mean, here, I've got one proliferator, which is lame, right? Now, essentially, I have this more for protection. Not really the proliferate effects, because I don't really have anything going on for proliferate, so I'm going to change this really to protection. But knowing it has proliferate is good, but since it's mainly for this, I'm going to make that the star category instead of making a whole category just for proliferate. Doing that moves it into the protection field down here. And this is also a stacks card, I believe, which probably, let's see if it's even under stacks. Yeah, there it is, under stacks. So maybe this will help you build decks, maybe not. I have some other cards like this, like Unwinding Clock. That lets me untap, but it's not here, so let's find Unwinding Clock. And a cool thing is, if you go all the way to the top, you don't feel like looking, just go Unwinding Clock, there it is. Click. Holy moly, I forgot what I was adding. Oh, was it untap? Untap, there we go. Boop. I'm going to take out own card. I had made a category for own card, and I found another way to tag those to make sure if I knew it was my own card or not, if I owned it or not. And that's actually by going to table. Oh, we got to get an Unwinding Clock here. Now when I go to table, I can actually see what cards I actually own because I have a tag here that says I have, or I'm getting, or I don't have. And as you can see, green is the have, and then default tag is essentially I don't have it. But then it shows, where are the ones? I guess I got everything that was getting. but getting was blue. If I click this, you can see getting, don't have, or just leave it default. And you can create your own tags. So these are the ones I made, or maybe they were part of it. I don't know. I think I made them though. Add your own tag to, you know, help you figure out whatever it is you want to figure out about each card. I don't worry about changing the pictures. I really don't. It's irrelevant to me. But I hope this helps you out a little bit, because it helps me out a lot. And up here, you know, if you want people to see your deck, you click this. You can add what your deck is kind of about. You know, I put 1/1 counters, but I think I've changed that, so I'm going to delete that actually. It's not really about 1/1 counters at all anymore. Artifact stacks and freaking what? I would call this Anthem because it does... No, it's not Anthem. It doesn't actually affect every card. It's just me doing that. I don't know what this is called yet. I'll figure it out, guys, but you get it, right? I hope. I don't know. But, yeah. So now we're going to look at another thing I like to do. It's nice to see in the table. What I do is I go to categories here, and rather just the types, I like to look sometimes at the price. And now I have every card between 0 and 50 cents is right here. So if I'm missing some, it's easy enough to sort them by what I have and what I don't. And watch what happens here. If I click this, I can say buy this stack. It takes me straight to my preferred provider, which is TCG Player. I say add to cart. It will optimize the cart for me, pre-adding these cards themselves, and probably says $62 because I have other stuff in my cart. Because this cart's only $15. See, this other stupid stuff in my cart you don't want to see. But yeah. I mean, look how awesome is that? And you can, change each one if you want a different printing. But maybe Moxfield does that. It does in some sense. I know it has, but I prefer to do it from here. I can see everything that's $1 to $5, $5 to $10, $10 to $20, which is awesome, And maybe if I actually want to make this deck more, what is this? Not proxied and more real, for whatever reason. Not doing it because I don't play those freaking rich people games. Oh, so you're rich, so somehow you're allowed to have these cards and I'm not, and you're allowed to play with them and I'm not. Yeah, no thanks. It's a piece of cardboard. All right, like come on, man. It's a game, dude. I'm not playing hierarchy, fucking kings and queens and peasants and stuff with freaking cards. It's not happening. Everybody should be able to play with every card regardless they can afford it. Print it, okay? Play. It's not that serious. It's a freaking card game. Let's also sort by artist name. Let's say there's a certain artist you like. Now you can see, all those cards. If you'd like to include that artist within maybe one of these that maybe it comes in, or you just want to buy their cards, period, and sort by the artist. There's a lot of artists, but and power. If power is important, I haven't even looked at the power of this, but creatures with a power of, I have 3 creatures with a power of 5, or is that the other way around? I can't tell. Let's see. An ancestral statue is, I have 5 cards with a power of 3. That's what it is. 5 cards with a power of 3, 4 cards with a power of 4. That's awesome to see too. Between the table, the grid, and scroll, maybe that's for the phone. I don't know. Oh, this is scroll. Maybe that works well with one of these different groups. And then from there, you can also, another thing I like to do, I'll show you, is the basic grid, I think. And what was I going to sort by? The mana value. So let's just go to the normal types, right? Is it the normal types? Yeah. Here's all my artifacts. Here's all my creatures, my enchantments, my instants, and what they are, right? Now I can sort it by mana value. And now if I want to decrease the mana value in places, let's say like my creatures, let's say I have two high costs of creatures, and I can take a look at, the highest cost, and maybe find something similar to that high cost creature in a lower cost. so that I can decrease my mana value across the board. Or my CMC, whatever you want to call it, man. I'm not trying to get that technical with this, but I can't help it in some regard. But yeah, so that's that. But I'm going to get back to actually building my deck instead of trying to show you guys this. And I wish I could sound peppier in this video, but I cannot. I don't know why. I just woke up and started doing cards. But yeah, essentially that's that. One more thing before I go. You can import and export your decks to go check things on like Commander Spellbook or whatnot. You can copy the deck and make a whole new deck. So if you want to compare the decks, you can compare decks. So I can compare my deck to someone else's by clicking this button. I can buy all the cards if I want to. There is a play tester here. Whatever this is, you can go through Scryfall syntax search if you want to search for very specific cards. You can also, search for cards, I guess, in EDH Rec relevant to this. And it's not working right now, but I don't know. I don't use that much. Honestly, I probably could, but I just go directly to EDH Rec. Maybe because I'm old. I don't really know. And then, add to collection. I don't use that much, but I guess maybe if I own the cards or something, maybe I'd use it. I don't know. But yeah, essentially, that's that.